Copyright. Copyright's one of those words that's changed. A retired printer once told me if they saw anything while he was printing 20 years ago, they'd throw their hands up in the air, they'd walk backwards and they'd go, "Stop press, we better check that out." Now, they press the button and walk away, and solicitors say, unless you've got a spare 50k in your back pocket, forget it, they'll send you bankrupt. So copyright does exist for the wealthy, but for the little bloke, we're easy prey. It's a bit sad, but it's fact of life. I'd just like to point out some pretty heavy-duty bits of copyright that have gone on here. Earlier I mentioned the national parks and their quote that where I was concerned copyright did not exist and material, but there's some indisputable, literally hard copy proof. Around Hill End they've got some signs. One sign in particular shows how quartz veins came in. Well, I worked under professors of geology when I was a kid and I soaked up their information. So I drew a hand-drawn sketch, hand-drawn. I put it in the book. The national parks, I'm sorry, they literally didn't do their own sketch based on mine. You can see any of my imperfections that are in this sketch show up on the sign. They didn't even do their own. They just did a copy and paste from that directly. Now, if that's not copyright, I don't know what is. That's my sketch.
It's amazing.
That's only one. I've got other ones. There's a photograph up behind me. See, what happened was from 1980 to 85, when I was building the Bald Hill mine, I was backwards and forwards from Sydney. I used to go to the Department of Mineral Resources. Their photographic archive section changed from George Street to Phillip Street to Cumberland Street at the Rocks, and up at the Rocks I had free rein because I worked at the Mining and Geological Museum. I worked there one day a week and I had my own key to the place, believe it. Access, not a drama. So I'd get photographs and sometimes they weren't Hill End. I know they weren't in the Mitchell Library, and I'd think, oh, they look really, really good. One in particular, you're going to love this. It looked like the Bald Hill mine when I finished the Bald Hill mine. Just looked like it. And I thought, it is Cobar 1904. Cobar 1904. I've got to have the photograph. It just looked like it. Beautiful. Put it in my shop. I got a photograph of some rocks that were stacked off the Turon around about 1904 down at Sofala. Put the photograph inside the Hill End books. All of a sudden they disappear out of the shop.
Amazing.
I won't say who, but a neighbour told me many years later, I was renting the building off the national parks, that they were going through it at night time, rifling it.
And this is Northie's store at the top of Clark Street,
which
was the Hill End shop back in the 80s.
And then, of course, when the national parks decided they'd be better off with the Bald Hill mine rather than me, all of a sudden their brochure has got Cobar 1904.
So they've gone through your stuff.
Look, there's a photograph they've got in the front of the mine now showing Cobar 1904 as that mine. They thought I'd found an original.
And they think it's the Bald Hill mine and it's not.
That's it. So it's not even this area.
A taste of their own medicine, stealing somebody else's art.
Well, we can't say they stole it. They may have found it in the gutter outside.
So they borrowed it off the shop,
Here's the thing. You're doing a town tour of Hill End. That's fine. But if someone else has found a hero photographs, and that's what I was after, hero photographs. And that's why people have copied so many of my photographs, because when I found a hero one, like the reward photograph, everyone had decided, oh, we've got to find a use for that. So you've got plaques around the street of Hill End showing the buildings, or what's one doing of rock walls on the Turon River at Sofala? It was a hero photograph. Oh, we've got to use it. We can go back to Professor Hines' book here, where the clever one literally says, you're going to love this, we have to pool. It would be good if we could pool all the evidence in one place. Yes.
It'd be easy for them then, wouldn't it?
With a photograph there of Lorraine at the State Library going through all the Halterman stuff, saying she is a researcher and she keeps track of Halterman. There it is there. Keeps track of Halterman. I look at my project like an antique car restorer. He gets a wreck and he decides, I'm going to make it look like new. What does he do? He sits on his hands and he cries until someone gives him some money. No, he doesn't do that.
No.
Yeah, bit by bit, he works at it. These people, let's play a pretend game. Let's pretend you have a banner, Hill End Gathering Group.
Yeah.
And then you go, well, I've got the banner. I'm a non-profit organisation. Let's apply for grants.
Yeah, see how far we can push it.
Well, we're the Hill End Gathering Group. We'll just get people to give us information, maybe, and then we take that research and we apply for a grant to do that research. Then we submit that research for the grant, and then we go on a big holiday. And then we come back and other people give us material, and we do that. That's just...
Easy done. That's the way life should be, isn't it?
It is for some. So we have a bit of an issue with that. I didn't realise you could get an award for getting grants.
Yeah, it's like getting an award for getting awards, isn't it?
So in the Hill End Gathering Group's newsletter is award, grants, all covered, bit by bit. When I first researched, and we're talking about at our own expense, I went to, we've already covered the State Archives, the Department of Mineral Resources, but then when you went to the library, we're talking about the Mitchell and State Library, you had to get microfiche film. That's what it looked like. You had to wait for a machine to become available and load the film, work your way through it, identify what you wanted, have it printed out, bring it home, go through it with a magnifying glass to find the bits that you wanted. It was painstaking work.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but it really reminds me of like a horror movie where they're going to research the information on their villain, but it just shows how dedicated you are into getting the correct research.
And a lot of them don't get the correct research. I mean, okay, Lorraine Purcell has in her newsletter a filing cabinet.
All right.
And she says, it's full. I've got a building over there, and it's full
of documents.
But these are the original documents.
Yeah.
They're not downloads from Trove and other bits and pieces.
You can't dispute them.
It's the original stuff. There's one grant that they're getting or got, and it did upset me. I only found out about it the other day. When I went to the State Archives, I meticulously documented every single hotel in Hill End, owner, location, you name it, the whole lot. One of their grants is to find the hotels in Hill End.
Oh, really?
Yep. So they've got a grant to repeat what I've already done. They're making out like it's new.
It's not new.
It's revolutionary.
To them it is, but they should have looked a bit harder.
Well, new is this. This isn't new for me, but it would be for them. Original letters from Edward Hammond Hargraves.
This is absolutely drool-worthy.
Look, he talks about finding gold on the 12th.
This is undisputed, It's from the man himself 150 years later.
Wellington in Guyong. He wrote this on the 18th of May, 1851. He says he carried out the research at his own expense. Sound familiar?
Yeah, it does.
So I didn't go to anyone else's book. Here it is, signed, Edward Hammond Hargraves.
Original letter from Edward Hargraves.
Letters and more.
Too cool.
So we've got that sort of proves
it does make the information in your book sound pretty fair income, if I do say so myself, and I haven't written any books before.
Well, why bother?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, there's some of the material I wrote on Edward Hammond Hargraves. Yeah, I tore a page out of my book. That was clever. We don't sell that many books. They sell thousands.
A lot of people have probably tore a lot of your pages out of your books, Dad.
Well, look, I'd like to cut to Lee Walpole now when he talks about most people don't research properly. And he is so right.
History is not being recorded by people who have been there and done it and lived it. It's recorded by people who think they know, and it's not accurate, and I'm sure my grandfather would be turning in his grave over that.
We can look at a third edition of the Halterman book and the fact that, well, maybe they should have done a book review on it. Everyone knew it was out. It's like everyone's got to get in the act after the third edition of the Halterman book came out. And I've known the Haltermans for over 40 years and been researching this for over 40 years. And after the Golden B.O. Halterman documentary came out, even the school teacher gets in the act. He brings out a history snippet like, this is brand new information. Look at what we found. He found the biggest nugget in the world, which we know is a specimen anyway. You've got to play the words the right way. And so week after week, he runs sections on Halterman. Now, it's not new information. It is copying. I mean, if one of his school kids did that, he'd be reprimanded and said, didn't know you can't do that.
You've got to give credit where credit's due.
Now, here's the thing. Be nice if they turned around and said, Malcolm, can we copy a couple of things out of your book and give you credit for it?
Yeah.
And I said, well, great, you would advertise the book. It would be a good thing to do. No, not do that. That'd be too simple.
No,
let's just take the work out, make out we got it from somewhere else. He does a bit of a good job with it. Oh, but he's also got a grave on his place.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Just be hiding information.
1853, Sergeant of Police murdered in a drunken brawl by his own men, written down at the time to be done by bushrangers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, pretty serious
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, if a policeman died in the 1800s, that's big news.
And killed by his own men
That's
and all this sort of stuff.
One hell of a cover-up.
Who's our expert on firearms and bushrangers?
Oh, that'd be Dennis Lee.
That's it. I got Dennis to do a full research of it to back up that I was right.
A bit like you with your golden history, this guy lives, breathes, eats, etc. bushrangers and firearms.
Gathering group, 4-page letter, I should say, well, it's a newsletter, on Sergeant Jip and all the issues they have finding the grave. I have not got a drop of barbed wire on the place. I don't have any CCTV cameras out the back. I mean, the boundary's
You will do now.
The boundary's 4.5 kilometres long.
I know,
But it's 100 metres off the Mudgee Road, and here she says that she trekked 500 metres off the road. Now, that's not that 500 metres in and a barbed wire fence and a mention of CCTV stood in our way. Darn. Now, if you're going to say that, and it's so obviously wrong, what credibility does the rest of this have? Especially when I tried to advise them of the correct story, and she writes, and she can literally feel the words in it. Malcolm says he believes Sergeant Jip, and I reckon Jip is a play on words, to be gypped, was, no Malcolm, don't say it, ... bushranger. There's other bits there which are just not even worthwhile mentioning. The fact is, Sergeant Jip...
Yeah, what's the real story on Sergeant Jip then?
It's a bit of a myth.
Yeah.
Go back to Donald Friend, Hill End. He wrote part fact, part fiction. He wrote the story. Harry Hodge took it that one step further. It's like building on a mistake. Harry actually had a cement replica headstone and sandstone headstone made, took down the back. I was here when he did it and put it in place. And I said, but there's no grave there. Oh, he said, no, it would have been about this area. Right. Okay. And Harry was a lovely bloke.
Yeah.
I knew him quite well. But he even admitted he was just putting it in an approximate location. So we bring in Dennis Lee. Now, we've got Dennis Lee's emails, which are here. And he's, left us with a crazy woman trying to find him. The classical urban myth. And he finishes on the second email with, now go and convince that woman she is chasing a shadow. You see, no such Sergeant Jip was listed in the police force. 1853, it would have been big news. No newspaper ever covered it that we know of, but the police did.
Yeah.
The clever one has this wonderful way of bringing in foot soldiers.
Yeah.
I get this phone call, and I don't mean to sound like a policeman, but that's what I told him.
Yeah.
Hello? Constable Williams here. And I went, yes, thinking that someone had died in the family. I'm researching Sergeant Jip. And I said to him, my exact words, I said, don't you blokes ever lose your tone? I said, here's me thinking that there's something wrong in the family. No, I'm researching Sergeant Jip, and I've got to get access to your property. I've got to do this, got to do that. I said, researching. I said, did you research the fact he didn't exist?
Yeah.
I never heard from him again. But that's a perfect example.
I love it. It's a great story, but it's getting completely whitewashed with the rest of history and blown out of proportion.
Well, here's the next thing. Okay, one more bit. She talks about Dead Man's Flat. Doesn't exist. She talks about, and it's published in Wellington. There's a Dead Man's Flat at Wellington, not here. You know what? Every area has got an Oaky Creek, a Sandy Creek,
A Split Rock Lookout,
a Red Hill,
Yep.
and of course most areas have got a Dead Man's Flat. And out of Dead Man's Flat runs Dead Man's Gully. Now, George Anderson, the captain, you know how well I knew him.
Yes.
He was born over there. He was born only a matter of, wouldn't have been 300 metres off Dead Man's Gully.
Right.
He was the first one to tell me about it.
Yeah.
Dead Man's Creek is listed on the topography maps.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Pack was born in the same area.
Yes, Poor Man's Gully, there's
when I
Dead
wanted to
Man's Gully.
find some information out, about age of 19, I bring Pack out. And he walks me through the area and he tells me again, Dead Man's Flat. There might have been a dead man there.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not a Sergeant Jip unless it's a Jip.
Yeah.
So with that, she's saying no such thing as dead. She's gone and typed, she said. She's gone and researched. Dead Man's Flat doesn't exist. That's because I said it did. It's in my books. Dead Man's Creek, Gully, doesn't exist. It does.
Yeah,
You've
yeah.
only got to go to the modern topography maps.
And they're
it's
right there.
written on them.
And they've been there for a while.
So they're throwing this in such a ridiculous area. It's like if I say black, they'll say it's white. If I say it's daylight, they'll go out and have a look and see if the sun's up.
Yeah.
It's silly. It's Lee Walpole's words. What they hold against you is irresponsible spite. That was his exact words. And I don't know why. It's like they seem to be jealous that we've got in here first and done it first. The copying has got to a stupid point where if they can't copy it properly, they'll make out that I'm all wrong. The information in 300,000 words plus is in the three books. And there's a lot more information.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I don't feel like doing it now.
Yeah.
I feel like saying, walking away from it.